next year, just keep those where they were. It worked for us, you know, let's see what we can get. Traffic operations, these are some things, these pieces of equipment here that Randy's asking for, I felt like we could rent as needed. It didn't pay to buy these pieces of equipment, so I did not recommend those to move forward.
Is, this first item, used bucket truck for traffic signal,
Right.
is that the same type of truck? We have one
We
already.
have one, it's just a second one to help out on something when you need it. You know, we don't need it that often. And 55,000, you can, I mean, I felt we could rent one, or we've been getting by without it since we bought that one. You know, we didn't have one at all.
Okay,
You
so
know,
that, I thought, but we do have one.
We do have one, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And, could we use it? Sure, we could use it, but it's more of a luxury position, I felt. Our fleet management, here, in this department here, there's a lot of different things that need to be done. I showed you some of the pictures yesterday, but some of these things have been ongoing issues. We work with them, you know, with our own maintenance people over time, and we keep getting by, which is the upgrade of the electrical system in the maintenance shop. Here again, we're putting money in that building. Ultimately, we want to move towards another building. I did not recommend that. The waterproofing, Mark's been working on that his people have. So we're trying to find an internal solution for that as well. Those are also items, because of the value of them, they're not high value. If they have money left over at the end of the year in their budgets, you know, those are things that they could get done internally, you know, within their operating budget, because they're maintenance items, they're not capital.
Waterproof, you're talking about the roof?
No, it's coming around the, you know, that building, you know, it's sitting in the back of it, it's underground, and water's coming down the hill, and it comes into the building. It's a problem when there's a heavy rain. It is a problem.
And it's, you know, it's concrete in the back, so they can't ditch it or.
And that's probably just, so it rushes the building, and it's coming in, and it comes into the shop. And so that's a problem, but I can get an update on that. I know they were trying to find a solution. It needs to be repaired. But I'd almost rather than say, hey, look, we got 16,000 in this year's budget, and we can just repair that. I don't know how much money do they have. Do we know in their budget left over this year? I mean, it needs, both of them need to be done. I mean,
Okay.
it's just, but the waterproofing is more of an issue, because you end up with water on the shop floor is significant. You shouldn't have any water on the shop floor.
No, it's unsafe.
And,
Tell us about the two new positions you've, recommended that we don't fund either of the two. Tell us a little bit about those two positions, if you would. What kind of
those are,
mechanic?
I mean, that's mechanic 3, that's a higher notch position.
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's one of those things that we can use, what we need to have. You got your different levels of mechanic, and Mike, you speak to this in great detail, but you know, you got your auto mechanic, your basic one, that's a little bit lower level, but then when you get the specialized equipment, and that's where you get the mechanic 3. You know, whether it's your fire apparatus, or whether it's your heavy diesel.
Computers.
Yeah, oh yeah, everything computer, and you know, we put a ton of money in that department over the years. I bought them everything they needed when we transitioned from Ford to Dodge, all the computer equipment, you gotta have that stuff.
Well, let me ask you a question. If we don't hire these mechanic threes, does that mean we have to farm more of our work out to outside sources?
Yes, and some of the stuff you wanna farm out. You know, like I said, there's certain items that we.
Well, no, we don't do transmissions
Right.
and all that kind of stuff, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
that's right. I mean, we used to do that kind of stuff. We used to rebuild transmissions, we used to rebuild engines, but now, I don't mind if they put one in, go buy one that's already rebuilt, you know, and then put it in the vehicle. And, but see, some of that stuff becomes double-edged, because then you still get a warranty, but you gotta take it back out, put it back in,
Yeah.
and it just depends on what the cost. They run those well, but it's really the more specialty stuff, especially the fire apparatus. That's where they really need help. So, I mean, you know, it's not a,
The reason I ask the question,
Yeah,
I would rather hire two people than
Yeah.
outsource
sure,
$101,000.
if you hire more people, you can outsource less. That's,
And could we change that to one new position instead of two?
it'd be greatly appreciated, one would, absolutely.
Would the board consider one of those positions?
How great can be the dollar, does the money?
I guess we'll have to see
Yeah.
the paperwork on how much are we spending on
Right,
spending
exactly.
outside to
Yeah.
answer that.
We're spending more outside than we have in the past.
I knew that, and that was the reason that I asked the question.
And one thing,
Not just in the past though, but does the number make sense? Does it match up to make sense to justify we even do one position?
well,
Because if we're farming it
Yeah.
and it's cheaper to farm it, then let's hold on. But if not, if it's costing us in the reverse, if it's costing us $100 to
Right.
do it, then it would be smart to probably go ahead and do it, even at least one position, don't make any sense.
yeah, well, one would help, because we got to keep up with the maintenance of the current fleet. You know, right now, it's about all we can do to maintain what we've got. Then you have a major breakdown, and that's when I told Gary Jenkins, we just gonna get it out of
It's not like we buy a lot of new vehicles.
We don't, so that becomes, I mean, you pay one way or the other.
We
This is
stretch them
cheaper.
as far as we can.
Yeah,
I'm good with one position.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
If Eric justifies the number.
Right, but I'm saying
we
the
can-
numbers can justify it,
Well,
if it makes
yeah.
sense.
Okay,
Michelle, you're making a
that's
note.
fair enough.
You'll make a note of that, we'll get with Gary Jenkins on that. Let's see, let's look at some other stuff we have there. We're going back to the other, the waterproofing and the electrical, I mean, we really need to do that waterproofing. We can find a way to do it. If we can do it this year's budget, we will, but that needs to be done. The other three items that I added in there deal with the fleet services shop. Now, what that is that's our heavy maintenance shop out at the landfill. So any yellow equipment, basically, we maintain out there, because we just didn't have room to do it at the Chicago Avenue site. So there's a building out there, they operate this in, but, you know, we're still stepping that building up. We need to do more tools and equipment, add a bathroom in there, and then add some additional lighting in there. Originally, that was just built as a storage building, is what it was built for. And it's a metal building, same as the shop, so it's decent for it, but he needs some additional equipment, so I didn't put that in there. And then they want to put a slab out there with it next to it. I'm not ready to do that. I really put the money in the position that y'all mentioned. The last one is the reorganization of the fuel management clerk from 2 part-time positions to 1 full-time position. It costs more money to do that. The 2 part-time, I think, they work fine out there. You can't always find a full-time position at those, you know, at that level of pay. It's hard to do it sometimes, but it is an upcharge to do a full-time position versus 2 part-time. And like I said, I did put that in there because I did recommend it.
Did you get an answer on your waterproofing fleet maintenance and heavy-duty portable truck lift for fleet? Those second, third items?
Yeah.
Did you get an answer from us?
No, not yet. Like I said, they all need to be done.
Well, I'm particularly concerned about the waterproofing.
That's my big, of those 3, that's my top priority.
Because the
It
the
is.
safety issue, and can they put curbing in, or concrete block, a stub wall, or
Yeah, I
to
think
divert the water?
They can, that's part of what they've got a solution to that price to fix the problem.
Okay, I didn't think it'd be that much, but I think
At the 16
At
price?
the 16
that
price.
sounds high.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, we can, I don't want to do it in-house. That needs to be done. It's a
No.
professional operation to do that.
Yeah,
And see, part of the problem is too, like to your point about safety, slippage,
right.
Yeah.
but you also have power cords on the floor running across, you know, it creates a real
No,
problem.
we need to address it.
Yeah.
These guys don't need to be working in wet floors.
They'll have it in their salaries.
Okay, and they can do it in this year's budget, is what,
And Michelle
You're
pulled
saying-
what we were spending across all funds outside sublet.
In 2012, all funds, 183,000. That increased so far in 2014, 217,000. The budget proposed for 2015 currently includes $334,000
for
for
outsourcing.
outsourcing.
Because we're sending more stuff out, especially, we're not sending general stuff maintenance.
So that's, you know, that new position you just spoke of.
Well, no, that would just count, that keeps you treading water, the new position does. You're still gonna send stuff out. That's not gonna be it'll be some savings, because what it does is this, it allows that person, you know, more time, take a first cursory look at it. If they can fix it, but what happens is this, is you have a piece of equipment that comes in, it breaks. We had an ambulance that came in, I'll give you an example, that, in the back, an air conditioner hose was broken inside the back, you know, box somewhere. Well, they couldn't get to it, so they start tearing it down. They start looking at it and spending time on it, and then somebody else comes in. Oh, here we go, this car here's boiling over, let's go fix it, you know? So then they off and on the job. Well, they couldn't fix it, they kept going, they sat there for a month, you know? Now, we finally could fix it, but it was finally like, we need that unit back in service. This is a prime unit. So send it out, let it go 3 days over to somebody else's shop, get it back in service. So to me, it's about the downtime. How many days is that unit down?
Yeah.
And if it's, you know, now if we could fix it, if it was an easy fix, they open it up and say, hey, look, yeah, this is in the box, but we can fix this. Then we can move forward. But those are specialty items. There's no, you can't, you know, those are custom-made parts by that, whoever made the ambulance. Not Ford or Fleet or International or Freightliner. This is custom stuff. So, you know, and you outsourcing it it's not a bad way to go. Even still, you know, even spending $300,000, you're always going to spend something. But we've increased it. It still increased less than the cost of the positions, but they do need a position just to keep up with what they got. So I think that'd be a good move. We'll fix the waterproofing in this year's budget. Michelle, if y'all send them an email, let them know if you get a hard cost, we'd like to see a breakdown of how that money's going to be spent. And then the electrical part, we'll just, and then the heavy duty lift, I think that's just to replace a lift. It's not a new lift. If y'all want, I can get more information on that one. They sent some documentation over, but it's not, I mean, it didn't hit the radar hard enough for me to move it over at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the health and welfare, these are some of the standard funds that we send over each year. Board of Health, we increased theirs about 50,000. Boys and Girls Clubs the same. Community Service Boards the same. Family and Children Services the same. Senior Citizen Services, we increased that a little slightly to 560.
And Eric, you might mention that, you know, we had an increase in Board of Health of 50,000, but we've cut their budget over the last 5 years from about 680,000 now down to
That's right.
410.
Yeah.
Health and welfare, senior services to replace the roof on that building. We've been doing that. That was, it still is a request.
Yes.
Okay. And that's a,
Now, this is the old.
this is the old hospital, yes.
Okay. I thought we wasn't needing a new roof on our new center.
Oh, no, yeah, this is the old one, and, I mean, and that's not, yeah, that's a, I had Mark Hill go back and run the numbers on that price to make sure what the roof was being done with, but it does need replacing.
That doesn't look like a bad price to me. That's
I
what
think it
square
is.
feet.
Right.
to do that.
They will do that.
Yeah, so let's move that forward.
Okay.
Okay, Parks and Rec, Cultural Arts Council, 35,000. Douglas County Libraries, we put slightly more in their operational budget based on the cost to operate. Parks and Rec is lower a little bit, we'll go through that. Aquatic Center is about the same, a slight increase, and then Senior Center
Well, that's Parks and Recreation, what, Center separate?
it's always been run as a different department. And,
Okay.
I mean, you could put it in there if you, there's no reason it can't be all in one, but it's just always been run separate to track the revenues.
Okay.
That's a good question. And the Senior Center is also the same way, because, you know, those were SPOS projects
Mhm.
originally. Of course, SPOS could never pay for operational,
Right.
but they were new projects, so they were set up that way originally. Let's see. What was that paddock evacuation system? Do you remember what that was? And she's looking at, the second part of that one is raising out-of-county rates. Is that something, I don't have a number there, but it's just something that I would thought we might want to look at. Not in county, but out of county.
Well, we already charge more for out-of-county,
We charge $1 extra.
just $1.
I think it's just $1.
I would entertain an increase in that if it's only $1. Because we're pretty much filling up that aquatic center down in there with our schools, all our schools
Right.
being involved.
Y'all saw the slides yesterday, how well it's being
Yeah,
used now.
and we're gonna make sure that we take care of county residents.
You want to increase it by $1, increase $1?
I don't know, I'd like to know what other counties do.
I know some of them charge, some places, and it depends how
Some of
much.
them double it.
Oh, some places charge $10 or $15 to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
I don't
That's high.
do that, but they should pay
It
more.
needs to go up, and I'd say the minimum $2, but,
let me get, if y'all send Gary an email about what the cost is, we'll send it out to the board.
Well, I may have.
Do you have it?
this
Okay, you have it, then,
from Jim Gay.
and what they bring in.
right.
But there needs to be more than $1 differential.
And we'll make sure, she's gonna make sure I'm right.
Because
You
that's
find
why
something
it's expensive.
for the patent. Okay.
See the numbers up there, $9,000 increase.
That's a new system, right?
And this is the feasibility study.
Okay. The first thing they have there is at $5,000. It's a feasibility study. This is a new type system for, recycling the pool water and a cleansing system. It's not, I mean, what we have now is fine, it works. This is just a new type system. It's a study to do it. I wasn't in favor of spending money on a study on a new system just yet. Because the technology we have works. And we even have the UV, filters in there too. It's not just, we don't have just straight filtration. You got it.
This is what Jim.
Okay.
Jim sent.
Okay, so here's what we've got for the, okay, adult fee for Douglas County residents is $3, non-resident is $4. For youth and seniors, it's $2 for resident, $3 for non-residents. So there's a dollar differential on the daily fee. And then, of course, it goes on down, there's different fees for the monthly pass, or the quarterly pass and the annual pass. But it's all based on
My question would be, why would we offer an annual pass to anybody but residents? Make them, if they come, make them pay a daily rate. Why would you give them a discount, quantity discount for somebody outside the city, outside the county?
See, like a family of 3, quarterly, they in-county pays $75 for a family of 3. Out of county, it's $125. And it's just,
Cause you want, I would say you want the volume you want it. So if I will buy a long-term rate, family rate and everything as opposed to being out of town.
Well, that's a $50 difference.
and it's a convenience also, how you can swipe your card when you walk in.
Yeah.
It's part of it, but whether or not you want to change the rates.
But if you change, I do the numbers in my head, if you change the differential, then that would, 10 visits would pay for that. That difference for an annual card. So I think that the structure absolutely needs to be looked at.
Okay.
And I would question a card, but I'm not closed-minded to it.
Why don't you reply to them and ask them to revisit the structure, especially for the non-resident, and make a proposal back to us.
I mean, because we're not suffering for participation down there.
Right.
It's not like we gotta bring people in the door.
We'll take a look at that, because that will raise your revenues,
We are sitting on the 14 gallon line.
And that's what you use it, 90%.
Okay, libraries renovation to Douglas County branch, children and teen areas. I did not put that in. We spent a lot of money. Y'all saw some of the pictures from the last year. I'd defer it to another year. One thing that they're asking for is to have the branch manager, in other words, upgrade a position for the branch manager for Douglas County Library. And then but if you do that, then you gotta replace her with a library assistant. So you're looking at, Lindy now is the county librarian and also the branch manager for Dog River Library. So she doesn't.
They're pretty thin right there.
Right. So,
I would support these.
I think you got enough volume down there to do it. At first, when we first opened it, we weren't sure. It's been open, I think, 3 years now. We can move those forward.
Get some input from somebody else here.
I would, yes.
Is that okay with the board? Okay, okay, Parks and Recreation. Now, Gary has you'll see a long list of items here. And some of them I've grouped together, some of them I've put money in, some of them are very high dollar. Fair Play replacement lighting, $462. There's no doubt that needs to be done.
How's that?
It does. Oh, yes.
It's a line.
It does. Well, so that's to replace everything down there, all the lighting.
All the fields.
All the fields down there. They're to the point where
We're
they're
keeping
kind
one field at a time, I tell you what.
well, and you could break it down, that's another option, because what you've got now is they're wooden poles. What happens to those poles is they're right from the top, that's where the stuff's bolted on. It's a problem.
Give a little wind.
Right, it's a problem. So it needs to be addressed. We can have them look at, but you've gotta do it field by field, if you did it that way.
If we decided to put another splosh before the
That's-
public, couldn't we do
Yes,
fund something
what
like this out of that?
yes. Yeah, that's where we go.
That way,
And that's my
outside
recommendation.
traffic coming through town could pay half of this for, and
That's
that's
right.
2,000.
That's my recommendation.
Would the other option be to start doing a field, I don't know whether it would be $80,000, $110,000
Sure.
in backfield from a splosh? Can you do that?
I don't know if you can do that, Ken.
I don't know.
you know, if you did.
Backfill.
if you did
Well,
work
it's
today-
if the splost is.
Pay for it up front and then reimburse ourselves.
If the splost enumerates, replace athletic field lighting. But we've already replaced field lighting at, one baseball field. Can we take splost money to pay for that one baseball field after the fact?
I would not say yes definitely on that. I'd say that that one's a close call. I think it's one thing whenever you advance fund something that's already been approved before you get funding. It's another thing when you've already spent it,
Yeah.
and now, you're going back trying to recapture it. It depends on how it's
I
working.
understand. The reason I asked the question, is what Chairman said, that, can we get some out-of-towners to pay,
Yeah.
pay,
Oh, no doubt.
pay the freight? Okay.
But I don't know if y'all want to do it partial, or if you want to leave it for splost. I mean, you're talking about, if you try to do a splost, you'll be next year or so, you try to ask for it. I mean, they need to be replaced. The fear is it's gonna fall.
Of course, you go in and do one fill and then everybody's gonna raise Cain because,
Right.
well, we pay more on this one than we do on the one.
And then we'll say, these were the worst.
Or another park.
Yeah,
Right.
but
So,
it's just a board decision. If we wanna try doing one at a time until we can find out later on down the road if the public would support a splash for these type of park and rec projects.
It's not that we've got a safety
No money
problem,
left, right?
the issues of following more than anything.
Can we inspect them? I mean,
Right.
are you confident in the inspection we've already done? And
yeah,
so-
Gary's pretty he's this is his biggest safety concern, that's why he put it top priority. The fear, I mean, nobody cares if those things fall right now, nobody's out there. The fear is that if they fell, and what falls is a light. I mean, the pole does not fall, but the light's gonna break free, and then then it would come down. So that's,
Are there a cheap way to secure them until we can do the spot to get?
now, and this is something, and over at, when we still controlled Beulah Park, that was one reason we took those lights down over there. The people had a fit with it, but they were unsafe. Nothing fell, but it's just, well, I mean, you can inspect, they have been inspected, but it's just, that's the word of caution. But, if you don't ever know when, well, that's the
Right.
question. When is it, and they've been through a lot of, we've had a lot of storms and winds, and they're still up there.
When we come in a few minutes.
Right.
But if it's a safety issue, then it needs to be addressed, but if we can get by.
Well, and that's the question. I mean, they may be good for another 5 years. Nobody's gonna guarantee that. The word that's gotten to us from the people who inspect them, which is we usually use West Georgia Lighting. They're the ones who replace the bulbs for us and everything. They're like, you got a lot of rot in the
Well,
poles.
we can't go with that. I mean, so we're put on notice.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like we're speculating.
Right, no.
Or think
Right,
there's
no,
a problem.
it's a.
Now, really,
We've been
it's a problem.
notified, we've been
It's a problem.
notified there's a problem.
It's a problem. And the other solution you can do, which is, I mean, I have not looked into this. I talked to Gary. You can maybe go in there and replace some of the poles, wooden poles, and say, hey, look, we're gonna drill a new pole in here and reset the lighting. This is all for new lighting. What we got now is old style lighting. But I don't know why you couldn't put a new pole in and move the existing bank onto the new pole. That's gotta be, that
Okay,
can't
well,
be.
that might be a good solution
In-
until
in
we
a-
determine a success of a splost for
We
parks.
could put some money, I don't know how much you put in there. You could put 25,000 in there, let's say, to just do some, just do emergency repair, so to speak. Yeah, on the ones that are the worst.
Yeah,
the
some
ones
of
that-
you're gonna have to replace.
Yeah.
And just so, because I want to make sure we're forward, the lights are a little bit different than the jail. The jail property, the bond referendum actually, or the SPOS bond referendum specifically is that acquisition of land for purposes of constructing the jail. And I don't know the timing of that acquisition, but because of the bond financing that was in place, you could backfill payments that were in excess over a period of time, but you couldn't put it up front to the detriment of the bondholders. And so, Mike, I want to be careful. I'm not necessarily saying no on the light situation up front, but it's a real tricky fine line. We'll just have to look at it carefully.
But we've been put on notice, so maybe an option might be replacing the poles.
But yeah, and it can't be all of them, but it could be some of them that are, they're not all
The worst,
bad.
the worst.
Right, the ones that are
Right.
in immediate danger.
So what would you move, 25,000?
25,000, let's put 25, and then we'll have Gary look at it. He may say, look, I have somebody expert, which will be, not us, but a lighting company.
This is, bring up a good point. I mean, for the most part, we know, again, I can only speak from the time I came in 08, we really haven't addressed the parks like we could have. We just didn't have the money. We're just now coming out to a point where we can actually address them. Just general maintenance. I mean, everything from Mount Carmel to Boundary, really, new to old. We're just now getting around to dealing with some of these things that are hazards. And so I guess my point is that those things that provide a detriment to the public, whether it's children, whether it's elderly, et cetera, it behooves us to address them. They're not a nice to have. We've got to address it to eliminate any type of liability that we're fully aware of. But at the same point, I think, and Ken and Mike, maybe this is the point, that if I put money in today to address those things, if so approved by the public to do a SPOS later on, can I address what's the balance of things that I haven't addressed? In other words, I use general funds today to address hazards, immediately exposure, frayed wires, whatever the case, fallen lights. But can I pick up the balance of the maintenance, field upgrades later from a SPOS?
Yeah, if you had a SPOS, that'd be part of your SPOS program, which is renovations and lighting, that was part of when
Yeah, if it's broad enough, that's probably okay. I think the question that was a little bit different is front loading.
Right.
Yeah, I think when you front load, you gotta be careful to not presume that what the ballot question is the same.
But parks, I mean, again, I'm not suggesting we go build all new parks so that we can get away from the point that we got maintenance in the existing parks. I'm talking about, can a SPOS be used to maintain existing parks? That's
well, it's not maintenance as much as it is, it's new capital.
Yeah, it's new capital expenditure. I think you gotta be careful too. The public perceives a SPOS as a capital program. You
Yeah.
start getting away from capital into maintenance issues as opposed to additions,
Well, it's supposed to be
upgrades, or
It's
improvements.
that's right,
Yeah.
upgrades and renovations.
Yeah, I think the SPOS is not appropriate for just generalized maintenance,
No.
but
Yes.
for improvements
Right,
that we sort
upgrades,
of,
that's
put in
right.
the category of maintenance, probably is fine.
That's
I
right.
get it.
That's
Now,
right.
the upgrades might, in some sense, address maintenance issues,
But let's remember that, let's talk about parks and recreation. Over the last 6 or 8 years, we've built 3 brand-new facilities in Douglas County, in Liberty Springs, Winston, and Boundary Waters. You take a look at Fairplay, this is one of the oldest parks that we have in our county, so, the older they get, the more work you gotta put in.
we gotta do something.
Yeah, like Mount Carmel, it's just, at some point, I get it.
Right.
Okay.
The other items, these are items that we would want to defer to a SPOS, which would be the Deer Lake Park gym floor improvements, Deer Lake Park tennis courts. I did put in here, they asked for 2 new trucks, I put 1 truck in here. Park Patrol, they asked for 2 more vehicles. They're okay on the vehicles there, they wanted to get the Jeep vehicles used, but they have a couple of Ford Rangers that were put in there from years past. I should move it forward.
Did they ask me any additional personnel, Eric?
No, I don't think they did this year, or did they? They did, okay, it's further down. It's further
Okay,
down.
well, we'll talk about that
Okay.
later.
Okay, these are other big items here, which is playground sets for Bill Arp and Deer Lake. Here again, that's an improvement, SPOS improvement. And like I said, y'all are close enough to where you're gonna wanna put a package together for the public. I would defer those to that package.
I'm just making this up, in Mount Carmel, wherever I'm at, if I'm at a playground and it's rusted, isn't that just basic maintenance? I need to paint it, change it, wax it, whatever the case may be with existing funds, or, when I hear playground sets, that we're going to, suggest that we package it versus, we need to just address that, because there's an active use of it. There's active exposure. You go down a slide and you hit that metal that's whatever, rusty.
Where are you talking about, Commissioner, at Wick Park?
You said about Mount Carmel, you said Mount
Yeah.
Carmel. Yeah, the playground equipment there is, it's very old. We do try to maintain all that equipment. Some of the, it's just worn out. It's just been out, it stays out in the weather.
Well,
It's just
I
been
thought
there.
we were considering with Mount Carmel, the only thing they play there is football.
Right.
There's no,
That's right.
nothing else plays there.
Right. That's
And
right.
we are building a new football field to move them out of that park. My suggestion would be to put this land up for sale and don't make any more improvements down there.
And remove dangerous equipment.
Right.
Right. That's
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
That's
Yeah.
equipment.
And,
And Mount Carmel. We'll have our risk.
I mean, as long as they're out there, though, I think there's something we can do, maybe repaint it or something. In the meantime, unless you order it and you pull it up, I mean, just because, until we do that, we're exposed.
I agree.
Okay.
The, Boundary Waters Park, this is a new, one of the big Real Master mowers, which is for the field cutting, so $25,000 for that. I put that in there. Replace the restroom facility at Clinton Park. Here again, that's a capital item we should look at for future SPOS.
$104,000 for a restroom. Can't we find some inmates that can lay
Well,
under?
that's a possibility.
Man,
Yeah,
Is that the same on
be able to
field?
build a restroom for
yeah,
$30,000 or $40,000.
right.
So that's a septic field at Clinton,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Is that the reason why the
Well,
cost?
the septic, yeah, the septic adds to it, but at the same rate, I mean, it is a high cost, I agree. I mean, that's a lot of money. Well, you know,
What do we put in for Boundary Waters? Isn't it, when we're supposed to be phase 3, it's supposed to be a restroom concession?
right, that's down the road, that's right.
So what was the cost of that? I'm just trying to.
Oh, that was more, that was like, I think that was 250 to 300,000 because it was gonna be both of them.
Restroom and concession.
Concession, right. Down at the football, I mean, those, it's outrageous what they cost, but a lot of the cost goes into this. It has all the electrical in there for the lighting, has the plumbing in there, you know, and then the petition the walls.
Well, it's commercial grade.
It's commercial grade.
As opposed to residential.
And these are very heavy duty. It's, you know, it's not the old style, they're more maintenance.
Well, also too, besides the fire marshal, it's gotta meet permitting
It does.
requirements for
88
food
requirements.
service if you're cooking
Food
food on
service,
site.
that's right. You had to have the fire hood, all that stuff,
Right.
that's right. The, okay, there are 2 pitching machines for the Lithia Park, I put that in there, 100 chairs and 10 tables for, this is, Gary says they use that stuff all the time for events, so I said, I move that forward. Surveillance cameras for the trail system at Boundary Water, they didn't put that in there yet. Maintenance, John Deere Gator for Deer Lake Park, I mean, we need that, but I, you know, it's just, I can't put everything in there. If y'all see anything, let me know that you like. Entrance signs, 18 golf discs for the Deer Lake outdoor fitness equipment for Greenway Trail. That's
What's
the
that
new
dealer
trail.
thing? What is that?
Okay, that's the disc. You have
That's for your disc golf.
Yeah, disc golf, that's real popular over at Deer Lake, and it's 18, it's the targets, you know, he wants to put in another course, put another
Like
course
some of
in.
the frisbee golf.
Yeah,
things, that-
frisbee golf, that's right.
What kind of shape is what we have down there now?
It's been there a
We've had that a
while.
while.
It has.
I mean, that's not a big expense.
Yeah, it's a-
If that's in bad
Yeah.
shape, we need to.
Let's move that forward, I agree.
I always see people down there.
They are,
Using that
It's-
stuff.
and then, you know, they bring their own discs, they invest money,
Wish
it's like
I could
buying
do
golf.
that.
They got bags,
They do.
golf carts.
They do, it's a neat system, so,
All
yeah.
right,
so-
so-
Okay, and the outdoor fitness equipment for the Greenway Trail, that's a neat thing. I didn't put it in there, but that's along the new trail Boundary Waters, and you have little stations. Those things, we've all seen them, we've all been, you know, you see those, and I don't know.
Stations of rest?
I know there's stations, and you do a little exercise over here, but I don't ever see people use them that much, in the things that I've seen.
That's what the trail's for.
That's what the trail, I mean, I
Right.
mean, you can go do some push-ups over here to the side anyway, you know, if that's what you want to do. That's that kind of stuff, you know? Okay, what we did here, I got, okay, parts to repair a playground, and that would address one of your concerns. I put $25,000 in that to repair a playground
Kill
equipment.
that and fix the playground.
That's right, so that's in there. Playground shade tops, I didn't put that in there. All right, these next categories, I put $10,000. Gary had a bunch of small things, which are,
You're gonna let them pick and choose. what
yeah,
they-
pick and
what
choose,
they gotta
buy
do.
everything you can for that money, which is, you know, weed trimmers, blowers, lawnmowers, smaller equipment.
Okay.
And I think it also included and then the paint machine for the new football complex, that needs to move forward, we need to get that. Get that, Michelle. Boundary signage, the signage has become faded, it's to redo the signage, that to me is a operational expenditure, they need to just, has money allowed to do that. And then you have flagpoles, irrigation, okay, the irrigation pump for Boundary Waters Lake needs to be repaired, that needs to move forward as well, because that pump's been down for a little while, and that needs to be fixed. You know, we have a pump system down there, we can buy water, of course, WSA, but we have the lake, it's a pump in the lake, that lake provides irrigation, you know, for basically for free, electricity costs, but we need to repair the pump.
We got a lot of side expense down there.
We do,
so
$1
that's
million
not a bad
side
investment.
down there, that's right. And then we got baseball field renovations, here again, that to me was a SPOS item. You know, a lot of this stuff, if you're gonna, you'll know.
Eric, what about, we talked about this in times past about like a water field at Boundary Water behind the swimming, the aquatic fitness
Right,
center.
right.
What, do you have an idea what that would cost?
As far as the water
Or,
Oh, a water park, yeah, we had I got,
Hey, you got
I did get him a
something
cost, I don't remember what it
while
was
back.
though. Yeah, and and that thing, you can put it anywhere you want. Like, here's the cost of it. If you wanna put one in Boundary, you wanna put one in Clinton, you wanna put one somewhere else, they're very,
Wasn't it pretty, I thought it was pretty expensive.
well, they are, but compared to an aquatic center.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
I get some,
Right.
but you're right, I mean, they were pretty, I hate to even gather, we'll have to pull that back up. I don't remember what
probably
cost it
expensive to
was.
put in, but the usage.
The usage is high.
The use cost is not that great, not like a pool compared to a pool.
And that's become popular in a lot of areas now where they'll have just a, they call it spray park, and it's fenced in. You gotta go buy your little wristband, then you go inside, so it's a revenue, you get some
Everybody
money
likes to
back.
swim.
Right.
Everybody plays in
Cherokee
water.
County's got one of those, and
Like
that would be a
it-
good place to take a look,
It would.
to see what they did down there.
And it has the mushroom, the buckets. Some of them have slides, like you can go down the slide, it's that little pit you go into, which has water in it, but it's only, it's where you land, in that.
Can you look into that, dust it
Yeah,
off?
if
whatever
you don't,
you
yeah,
want?
can you send that out? Gary sent it to Gary News. Okay, the rest of this stuff is a lot of maintenance items, that we have here. One thing, is the portable baseball mound at Winston, we need to buy that, which is $14.50. And then, see, some of these things, I'm more inclined just to group them together and say, Gary, you buy these things that you need, which are like the wood carpet mulch, the infield mix, things that are maintenance items for those parks.
I would group those together just like you did on
Yeah,
that.
I think I put another $10,000.
You'll know
into
what
this
you
group
need
those.
more
Right,
than we would know.
that's right. Now, I did go ahead and put, central air for the maintenance offices, that's the new offices, that are in the shed, what was the old maintenance shed, now it's the new maintenance shed, I put that in there. I did put brown mulch for flower beds, paint machine for Post Road Park, and then some grills that we put in different parks as well. Okay, he asked for some new positions. One, he asked for a Boundary Waters maintenance tech position. I did not put any of these in there. But one of them, Chairman, you mentioned was a part-time security officer position, but he also has an upgrade, Park Patrol upgrade officer position to lead position. So he has several, position upgrades he's asked for, and the part-time custodian, but, I don't know where y'all are hearing, that y'all, everybody hears something a little different as far as what we need. So I wanted y'all to kind of look at those briefly.
I think our security people do a fantastic job, but I think they're stretched so far
Mhm.
that you'll hear complaints that, well, they didn't turn our lights off, or they didn't turn our lights on, and this is not safety, this is the maintenance of those fields, but it's part of their job description. So what we got now, Eric, 4?
And what they're asking for two things. One is an upgrade to an officer, to a lead position. The other one is a part-time security officer position. That would help when there's special events, it would help when they're not stretched as thin.
How many parks do we have, Mr. Chairman?
Pardon?
How many
We
parks?
have 19 in some form or fashion.
Yeah, but we don't, but they're not circulating to all 19 of
No.
those, probably 12 of them.
Right.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And it's just difficult, as they're spread out,
Yeah.
200 square miles, basically.
And we do all the lights, and which saves us a ton of money. Those
And we are
lights-
saving money, and that probably would pay for another position.
Those lights are something like, for a per field, something like $250 an hour.
Oh, that's
for those
amazing.
lights. On per
And I hate to
field.
go by there and see those lights on.
But we turn them off and on.
Fields.
Except for, Chestnut Log, they do their own at Chestnut
Our
Log.
security.
Get those lights turned on.
You had to call, say, we're playing tonight.
Bill R.
Sometimes, it works well now. It used to be,
Well,
you forgot us, and we hadn't forgotten them, but it works well.
I'm okay.
The neighbors complain about it too.
So we want to do the part-time and then the upgrade.
I think so.
Again, interaction with what's other.
Right.
Oh, where's it? Am I reading it wrong? Part-time, I'm looking at this part-time
Oh, I got you.
security officer position.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You got all that, Michelle? Okay. All right, planning and community development. This includes your cooperative extension, economic development, which are held the same as what we did last year, $250,000.
Here, could we go back, I'm
Sure.
sorry, but
Yeah, sure,
I just looked at this, Tammy Cochran,
Yes,
part-time
yeah.
to full-time with
Right,
benefits.
right.
Who is she and what does she do?
I have the sheet on her.
Do y'all know? I mean, I don't know whether this is something we need to do or not, because I don't know who she is.
We're gonna pull that up. Well,
Okay.
we got the sheet right here. Okay, all right, we'll come back to that. I mean, she's gonna pull it up, she's in, they got, they have tons of BIR.
Okay.
We'll come right back to
That'd
that.
be fine.
Our economic development, I proposed that at the same level, which we put 250 this year, and put 250 next year. I'll make sure y'all are okay with that, or if you wanted to throttle it back, or leave it the same, or increase it. That was a big bump. That was a big bump from what we were before.
It was a big bump, but it was a bump that benefited Douglas County.
It did, absolutely it did. So that's why I wanted to maintain it. Okay, we found the sheet. Go ahead, Michelle.
She's a current employee, program aide / guest services attendant, currently working 40 hours per week without benefits.
Yeah, you really have to.
You can't do that.
You can't be, we hadn't been hit with that yet, but the new, you're basically, she has to be full-time.
She's the first contact, the citizens have with parks.
Your options there are either make two part-time positions or make her full-time. It's better to make her full-time because she's the main contact person that people call the park. It's better to have the continuity.
What's the response then, if people have good experience with them?
We haven't had, yes.
Okay.
Because that's one thing that, and that's a great point you brought up, because it's one thing Gary Dukes, he prides himself on you. Over the years, we've had some people
I know
that
we
do
have.
rough, and
That's why I'm
yeah,
asking.
right. He has a lot, for him to do that, he's got a lot of confidence in that position.
Okay, I'm good with that. Jim.
Everybody
So
okay?
18.9 for
Right.
full-time.
That's right. That pays for the benefits and the different things.
Okay.
Well, no, that's going
That's
from
in addition
part-time.
to what they're
Right.
already paying.
That's going from part-time to full-time.
Oh,
Okay.
She says she's working 40 now.
Okay.
Not being paid.
So that number will change to what?
You have to find out what that would be.
Just increasing it at
Yeah.
10.
It's gonna go to 1636.
Let's go back up, yeah, right there.
Just increasing it per, let's see. Well, they're asking for a grade and step increase to increase her salaries by $4,800.
So what would that say?
I'm not sure how they calculated it. Let me-
What grade step is it? Seven?
She's currently 16.2.
Yeah, that's a real low position, so. Yeah, so,
$23,000.
yeah, 23,000, that would take her to $27,000, $27,000 annual salary. That's what it takes. So it's a 1608, and,
Okay. That's good.
okay, cooperative extension, we have three items here for them, which is a new copier, a new sign out front, because people know where they are, and then improvements to the building, which are minor. They also wanted to take a part-time position and make them full-time. If y'all remember a couple of years ago, we eliminated all county positions, or at least we thought we did, in that department, because remember, it's state, I wanted to
Yeah.
separate because it
Yeah.
becomes a management issue.
Right.
Well, they had one part-time, it's still county, and I said, no, I'm not in favor of making that full-time, because it creates too many issues, you're a county employee, but you work for a state,
Yeah.
so they should leave it part-time.
Yeah. Okay.
License server agreement, or server, license for GIS and mapping, that's really just that's an operational cost, I moved that forward. Rideshare, this one's really interesting. Remember now, the state stopped paying their 10%, so that's 80-20 versus 80-10-10. So what we've got here is to replace 10 of the vans, $350,000, so 280 federal, 70 county. And 5 new vans, in other words, these are new routes. So that's 100,000 federal, 25 county. Also some parking lot lighting, they wanted to redo some LED lighting over there. I did not move that forward, even though it's 80-20, but it's $5,000 of our money. And then the voucher program, fare collection system, which is a good move, that's 4,000 fed, 1,000 county. So the total is 480 for the project. For our cost though, like at $76,000. So to get 400,000.
We did talk with our local
Yes.
delegation regarding
We
this,
did.
this 10% match we're losing from
Right.
the state. And from everything that I see, their revenues in the state are increasing. And this time, they shouldn't be cutting out
Nope.
local money coming to us at a time when their revenues are increasing and ours have still been
Right.
decreasing. So we need to stay on top of our
Yeah.
local delegation to make any calls that we can make, anybody we know that's in the legislature, whether they're representing us or not. This should be corrected.
Well, and too, Jerry, remember, these were big initiatives back when Atlanta was in the non-attainment.
Yeah.
You had to have these kind of programs. That's what kind of helped
That's
bring
right.
us back into compliance.
Mhm.
Okay.
Before you do that, to that point, and I can get, just to reiterate, to the chairman's point, talking to the delegation, Eric, your point of 80-20, I guess we're paying 20. And
That's right,
you're
versus
paying 80. You know, again, when you think about our taxpayers in Douglas County, and this is a reasonable tax amount, and you're saying there's 5 new routes, you're right?
That's right.
5 new routes. And when I look at rideshare, and I look at how it goes to these employment centers, and it comes to Douglas and it goes in, or vice versa, et cetera. But there's points in which it should stop to make it more efficient for more people to take advantage of the system, to contribute to the system. And again, I bring up the point that how I noticed that Cobb uses the same bus as everybody else Express. And they get on Thornton, they stop on Thornton Road. People are pressing the button, they let them off John Bleakley, they let them off Kroger, going down the street as they go back into Cobb. And I'm thinking, well, why can't we do that? I mean, we have no mobility within our county, but yet we've got all these buses that leave Douglas County into Atlanta and come back, and we have no interstate exit stops, right? Why can't we stop at Thornton, at Lee Road, at Post Road, at whatever, at the mall, at the transportation center? It just seems like we're missing moments in which we could be more efficient with the public to take advantage of it and access. It seems like it's only serving those corporations that, those work center places, which is limiting. Everybody doesn't work there, but people can take advantage of the transportation system. And I guess the more people that you get to use the system, obviously you have more contributing to it, lesser cost, more cost of being, more revenue is being spread across the fixed cost of the whole system. There's a way that we should be able to do this. I'm not suggesting bringing a full-fledged MARTA system out here, but I think we can enhance what we currently have in place to make it more amicable to everybody versus just the people who work at the major corporations. I struggle with that. I struggle with taxpayer dollars, both that we pay to the feds and at the local level, not to be spread equally amongst everybody to take advantage of this functionality. I just think it's very limited. So I guess I want to know what you guys think about that. If we're adding 5 new routes, I'm curious as to where those routes go, and why can't we just add one inter-county route, a bus of, I don't know how much a bus costs, $15,000, $20,000, to begin to move our people around a little bit more efficiently. There are people who are captive, as we're noticing. We do have things for the blind, we do have for the elderly, we do have that system, but we're growing. I mean, we're not too shy of 200,000 people, and we need to be thinking about how do we scale our current system to get ahead of the curve as we become truly a large county. How do we move our people around? How do we tap into home station or the airport, et cetera, versus, again, Mr. Chairman, I've heard you say in times past, we're one of the largest users of that system, but yet it doesn't serve our whole population. It just serves those people who work in those major corporations. It takes them back and forth there. That's what I struggle with.
I understand that, but I think what we're doing is confusing our Greta bus routes with our van system. We're talking about vans here. But I understand what the commissioner's talking about, but basically, our van food program is probably the premier van food program in the country. We've been doing it since 1985. And the Greta system is controlled by the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, which I serve on that board. But we have, 5 routes, 4 routes? That's all we have. I think we're talking about replacing vans here, and these vans we're probably replacing worn out vans
That's
and not creating new routes. Is that what we're
Well, the
doing?
10 of them are to replace the worn out vans, and 5 of them are new, you know, for potential new routes. You know, they always want to find some new routes, but
Okay.
those 5 are, that's what, if you buy 15 vans, you know, they may go into the old routes or replace
Well,
them.
you know, we are getting federal money, and
That's
basically
right.
the federal government
80%.
dictates what we do with
That's right.
these vans.
That's right.
But I understand you're talking about an inter-county or inter-county transportation system for people to pick up, to go to the grocery store and to the doctor and all that kind of stuff.
Or feed into your role, you're part of the broader region, right? You run the transportation committee for, you know, ARC, et
Right.
cetera. And I'm saying, why can't we just tap into existing? In other words, I don't want to create my own per se, but if I can get a couple routes to tap into Holmes or tap into Cobb, some kind of way, that makes it, that works for me.
Mhm.
I mean, we're part of a region. I don't want us to be so self-contained that we don't see that we're part of a bigger universe, right? We're a planet amongst ourselves. We swirl amongst the other planets that are around here, the other counties, and I just think there's a way in which we should be able to tap into this and help our people move a little bit better. That's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree, and you know, there's a study now, a transit study going on in the Atlanta Regional Commission. And it's connectivity is what it's talking about. Such an example, as you said, with CCT buses coming down Thornton Road.
Right.
Absolutely, I'm glad they're stopping there, because we need to tie these systems in together.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully, that's what this study's gonna show us how to do it, where you buy one fare and you can transfer from one system to the other without having to, you know, pay again. I think, what was the senator that was asking for that study, and I don't remember what his name was. But it took him, he got on in Cobb County and was going somewhere. in
Right.
Gray.
Right.
Yeah.
And it took him like 12 hours to get there, and had about 4 or 5 different fares. But that's ongoing now,
Right.
and I see people cooperating more so than I've ever seen before. And you gotta tie these systems in together, because you couldn't afford to do it otherwise. But we need to take a look at if there's any other federal programs. I don't wanna know if you can mix this with our van food program, as far as in-county circulation of buses. I think you'd have to look for different federal dollars, and I'm not positive about that. But that's something we'll explore,
You
and
would.
as chair of ARC's Transportation Committee, I'll make that a part of my next plan to do the homework on.
And we brought that up to our delegation.
We did.
We all met, so I'm not, invalidating, we've already put this forward, but I think earlier you mentioned that the transportation, bid that we put out, that you know what that one's gonna be focused on? We did our own transportation study in the county.
I do not explain what that feasibility study was.
It's a feasibility study for
Right.
transportation.
Right, and it looks at some of those things, it looks at what's the need, you know, what's the need for some of the items you've talked about. Because the ride share is just that, you know, ride share is that's what this is. Hey, you know, meet up at this place.
Right.
We're going to 2 stops. One stop one's where we pick you up, and stop 2 is where you drop off.
Well, one thing about those, now, the vans take you
They
where
do.
you work.
They do.
Well, buses take you to a certain
That's
point,
right.
you get out, then you
Yeah.
gotta find a way to work.
Okay.
That's right. I mean, yes, you're exactly right, Chairman. If the van's going over to Emory, you know, if you're going to the Emory campus, it'll make stop 2 or 3 people may get off at this building. The driver goes on one, and then he takes it to his place of work. Afternoon, he does the reverse and heads back home. You're right, so there's a little more customization. But remember, all those are volunteer drivers. Those are drivers that they're part of the ride share program. But there's a driver and there's a backup driver for the van.
A very successful program.
Oh, we got the most successful program in the state of Georgia.
And again, I look at what, was it Clayton County, Fayette County, that just approved a SPOS to tap into the broader referendum. I think they got, 16 buses and 1 light rail in some kind of way. I'm not suggesting we're on that magnitude, because obviously they're, 2-3 times our size. Yeah, population-wise, but I think there is a way to tap into the existing system. So, Mr. Chairman, to the extent you can provide us some advisement on how do we take advantage of this
Okay.
regionalism, I think that would be helpful. I mean, we're just talking about 1 or 2 buses, not a whole system,
I'll be glad to take a look.
Thanks.
Okay.
County agenda.
I got a question. The voucher program, collection, explain. Is that the actual program with the young lady that we recently brought on to do the part-time work, and what is that dollar amount? What is that about? Are we adding to this program, or are we enhancing it, or are we?
No, that's a good question. I want to read do you know what it says exactly?
for Commissioner Mitchell's
Right.
question, I think, she took Gary Watson's position when Gary Watson became the rideshare director. So,
That's the mobility coordinator. is what
Yes.
that is.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
and it's
mobility
grant
coordinator.
funded.
Okay, so are we adding more money to it, or we adding, what's the 5,000?
So this is for the collection system, to the fare collection system. I think,
I think it's a software system.
right, to track everything and where they're going. But
Okay.
if you want to pull it up, Michelle, as far as what, are you at something else? Let's read what you have and let's pull up
On the
the.
feasibility study.
This is the feasibility study, it's very generic, just simply to draft a plan for identifying transportation and service needs.
So that addresses what you were saying, and that's the plan, and that's what Randy's saying. He's looking over the proposals now.
Right.
And he'll bring it forward to the board in a few weeks.
And that's where we need to take a look at advancing what we're doing. We are doing some of this already, but it's very limited to mostly senior citizens who are getting these vouchers to go to the doctor and,
Right,
and things like
Visually
that.
handicapped people.
Yes,
and so forth.
handicapped, and, so we are doing some, but I understand, Commissioner, you want to move forward a little more so than what we're already doing.
Just gradually, I'm not going to a full-fledged Clayton system, I don't think we're ready for it, but I think we can do a little bit better about inter-movement. And this is, again, in our delegation conversation, if 75% of our population leaves this Douglas County and drives to work, and then we're creating all these jobs in Douglas County where people are coming from outside the county in reverse to get these nice paying jobs at the Curates and so forth and so on, there's still a population of people that are being overlapped, right? They can't take advantage, their quality of life can't improve, yet our tax dollars are funding all the people to take advantage of it, and that's what I'm having a problem with. I think there's a better way that we can sort of take advantage of those people who can get them to jobs within Douglas County or move within Douglas County, seeing they're already contributing to the system. That's all.
Okay, these next slides, I'm gonna go kind of as fast as we can without, there are some important ones in here, of course. You know, okay, the next one's special revenue funds, debt service, capital project funds, enterprise, internal service. Okay, now, you have some new funds in here, we talked about it earlier, animal control services, fire protection services, and EMS, and special services district. All right, the 911 center, upgrade the old CAD system from the AS400 version to a Windows version. Now remember, this is funded within their fees, so they have the money to do that. Also upgrade the old AS400 platform to the current server technology, which goes along with that, so $290,000 for that total. One thing that Greg's pushed for over the years is having a communications operator trainee position, and then the trainee position is equal to the sheriff's department trainee position. You know, that's just, you know, I'm not recommending those, either one of those. Those have been in there for years, they've asked for those a couple of times. And what I'm recommending are the two items that I have for you. They also wanted a backup generator to the backup generator, and we just got that new generator.
Say that again?
A backup to the backup. You know, now, what I told them, I said, hey, I'm fine if you want to put an interface out there, we can plug one in. Because remember, we have the new one, just Joseph Milholland just secured.
Yeah.
Now, if that has to go somewhere else, we can't have it. But of course, if we're using it, then it's ours. But it goes where it's needed. But there's always a paranoia about, hey, the backup's gonna fail, but what's it to deal with that if it happens? We've got about an hour worth of time, I think, on the batteries. And then we have the generator comes in. So it's not like, if that generator doesn't kick on,
You're not out of business.
you're not out of business immediately.
Revenue side.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the new fund that was created this year to begin 2015 budget, the Special Services District Fund, which is, this fund includes all unincorporated revenue sources to pay for all unincorporated expenditures, including its portion of fire and animal control services. And insurance premium tax is included in this fund and is estimated at $4.6 million. So your taxes in this one consist of your franchise fee tax, your beer and wine, your liquor, registration and excise, your energy excise tax, your occupational tax, all your licenses and permits, and all of your development services revenue is all placed in here.
And this is not a new tax. This
No.
is taken out of the general fund, so there's a corresponding reduction in the general fund.
Yes.
We're sequestering
Sequestering
these funds.
portion, right?
to distinguish from incorporated and unincorporated,
Okay. So
i.e. service delivery.
Good, okay. All right, so, and then you have, here's the funds that you have as far as that are inside of that, which is public works, development control, planning and community development. And you have, general appropriations, transfer out from fire and animal control funds. And then, so your total special service district funds are all listed there. So this is all a new concept. Here's what they've asked for in there, which is code enforcement, which would be,
And I have asked for that.
right, they've asked for another code enforcement officer position. And, you know, that's where I wanted to get the information from the board on what you want to do with that. I think I have a sheet on that.
Can you speak to what you're seeing in code enforcement? Are we doing a good job, or we should do a better job?
I think for the staffing that we have, we're doing as good a job as we can.
I think we have 2 people now.
Yeah, we have 2 people covering 200 square miles, and we appreciate the fact that we still have a lot of quasi-abandoned homes in foreclosure. One of the biggest problems is the homes that are in foreclosure or have been repossessed, and who holds title and who you get in contact with to get the weeds out of the gutters.
It takes months
It takes months, and I asked and I spoke to both the staff down there as well as Tracy Rye. I said, well, it would be helpful if you had a staff person to do more administrative in. And her response was that we really need boots on the ground to start addressing it. Those boots on the ground can do their portion of the administrative work, and it's probably better that they do because they have eyes-on knowledge of what the situation is. But basically, they're I wouldn't say they're quite treading water. They're just a little below treading water and keeping up with all these derelict houses. Again, I won't say technically they're not abandoned, but they're not being kept up. And it's difficult finding out who's responsible and then getting them to do something.
Okay, so you're speaking more for residential, so the commercial side, they're pretty.
Well, it'll be everything, but, yeah. But that's what I'm speaking to.
And then they have also, they have the position, then you got the vehicle, which, you know, if y'all choose, we can find a vehicle for them to operate. It won't be, you know, in the future, you're gonna buy another one, but we can find something temporarily. And then, the equipment.
Drive a lot of miles.
Right. And I mean, ideally, it'd probably be a car. I couldn't guarantee they have a truck. You know, I'd like them to have trucks because they put the signage and everything in the back. But we could make, you know, like I said, if that's a decision factor for you, that's a
I
possibility.
support that, new individual there. That's what we used to have. We
Right.
had deals set up.
We did cut back on the first
We
day
did.
before, you guys were cutting, so I think, you know, that does drag on home values when properties are not maintained and all of that, so I think it's.
But boy, who do we have down there now? 2 people, I think they do a fantastic.
That's right. They do.
But we just can't get around to all these places they need to. Before.
Well, the highest we had 4 at one point in time, because we had an environmental code, remember, it was part of the, this was before Sonny Perdue came in as governor, there was the EPD grant we got from the Tiger grant system.
Right.
So we had, that was the fourth one, but that went away, we went down to 3, so we always had 3 county and then 1 grant. Well, the grant went away statewide, so
Yeah.
that was, and so,
This kind of goes to my pitch, and I was making before about the roadways, is the appearance of the county.
Mhm.
And certainly adding a code enforcement officer, you're not gonna see an overnight turnaround. But I think it's just an important step to do that. And realize there's communities, there's homeowners that live by these properties that are most heavily impacted. Not us driving down a trunk road, but people that live in that community, I think need this help. I appreciate your support.
Eric, we did that,
Yes.
we're in support.
okay. That in support of the vehicle too, or just the code officer and supplies?
I thought you can grab a vehicle.
We can, I just want to be sure I'm clear, okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, another one here, I want to talk about this next one in executive session. We're going down to occupational tax. Like here again, this is almost it's a minor, it hardly hits capital, I'm in favor of doing that, which is, it helps the person do their work. This is similar to the code officer, you know, they're out there, they do their own work, and then send it out.
Okay.
Okay, and then tourism, okay. I need to talk to y'all about this one here, which is the tourism piece. and I got some information to hand out. We talked about having a welcome center. We have the new hotel motel. 5 to 8%, remember, we went up on that.
Right.
And part of that can be done, let me hand you this one too. Don't pass those out. We have the museum, you know, we have the museum, and it's not open enough. It's a great asset, and they have to get some brochures on those. This would be to have a person in there that operates a welcome center / museum. On the big sheet of paper, it just shows who your History and Tourism Commission is. Everything right now is run through volunteers. And then you have the old courthouse Inc. board, so something that has some of the same people on there. And then the other brochures are the Hydrangea Festival, you know, that's tourism. You know, we want to increase tourism, grow that festival. I think, how many years is that now? This is the 8th annual coming up. This is the 8th year we've done that. It grows every year. And it's something we need to keep going, because I mean, it's at risk for, you know, if the people that put it together, if they decide, hey, we're not doing it anymore, it would be at risk of not continuing on. This would secure that. You know, they would be housed in the old courthouse. It would have more normal hours of operation. When I say it would be open every day, basically. Maybe not 8 to 5, it's not an 8 to 5 operation, but it would be open every day versus just 2 days a week. See, right now, they visit the museum Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 5.
8 hours a week.
That's right. And we're talking about opening it much more, because we do more scheduled events, and then you can also focus on the Hydrangea Festival. Now, remember, this money, the tourism money, the hotel motel money, we can spend it a couple ways, Ken. You know, you can spend it, right now we send it to the Chamber of Commerce and to this group here. This would be for a new budget. Let me pull that out. And it would have to meet our budgetary goals. And on this sheet I'm handing you now has the budget on the back of it. And
What's the difference, what's the difference between the old courthouse board and the tourism commission?
for the tourism and history, you know, that's where you said, that's where the money goes right now. The 8% that's collected today, or the old 5%, split between the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce, when you go in there, they have a welcome center. And all those brochures, that's technically the welcome center. That qualifies them. That's what's done all over the state. You know, that's a welcome center. That qualifies under the law. Then you have so also we do the Tourism and History Commission. That gets the other part of the money. So then the old Courthouse Inc. board is separate. You know, that's,
I think, Eric, the old courthouse Inc. board was created, at the time they were trying to save that
That's
facility
right.
from being torn down.
that's right.
Suzanne Hudson started a group, because they were gonna tear down for the parking lot, I think. And she felt that, you know, this was a historic building.
Right.
And I give her credit for saving that facility, but I think they created this old courthouse Inc. just for that purpose. And that may not be totally right. Henry, do you know any more about that?
I just know it exists, but I don't know how it came about, so you got the history of it, so I'm like, you know.
But I think that's the reason you have two separate entities here, but they're basically the same.
Do they,
What?
so the old courthouse, I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard about it.
Yeah.
Does it still exist? Do they still?
Yes, yes. And you can join, for $100, you can join the old courthouse.
It's a spinoff of Juneteenth and BE and all that stuff there.
So it's city focused, or is it, it just seems like.
But and what we're looking at here too is, okay, you know, what we're, proposal was not just to give the Chamber of Commerce their current percentage and say, look, you know, the Board of Commissioners got to increase it from 5 to 8%. We did that though, and this is under the current hotels and motels we have.
Right.
And so rather than the chamber just saying, hey, you get the benefit of all this, we said, no, we want to refocus it. So no, we're going to keep the chamber where they are, whatever money they get. But then we would refocus the additional money over to this tourism aspect that the county would have. And focus on events. And, you know, ultimately, Chairman, you know, this is something that even September Saturdays, I know West does that today, but, you know, you look at long term and that they could do events of that nature. Anything that's promoting the county.
Now, Wes won't be working for us forever,
Right.
so
That's
he's
right.
gonna retire at some point in time. and it would come under the umbrella of this group.
Right.
What Eric and I, what we tried to do here, we tried to combine a number of features into one group being able to do all this stuff. And in the beginning, I think they can do it. As the future, as we grow,
Right.
probably gonna have to hire more people. But we would like to see the old museum open more than 8 hours a week. I don't know what, I don't have any, certain time that I'd like to see it there, but, a lot of people have never been there because it's not convenient to go from 1 to 4 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Even a lot of school children trips up there, we could increase those. But a welcome center, I think, could be advantageous for us. And the same people who are running the museum would actually run that park as
They
well.
would, they would. And this includes a full-time director, and then, we'll have to talk a little bit more about, if y'all like this, about who we're gonna put it, what department it's gonna fall under. We don't talk about that right now, but you have a director
Since
over
Parks
there.
and Recreation is already housed there,
Right.
that's probably
That was my
where
thought.
this should
Right.
fall.
It fall under Gary Duke's overall umbrella, because
Yeah.
he's over there.
I'm gonna, to your point, you've got a Chamber of Commerce that tends to have a focus on economic development. It tends to nurture either small businesses or building relationships with our existing corporations, and it tends to be just there, right? But that doesn't engender tourism, right? I think there's a place for tourism, which is to attract the individual. The Chamber doesn't really focus a lot, at least from what I see, on attracting people here. Yes, they have certain events, but if you look at what they promote, if you look at their committee structure, if you look at what they really are about, it's really about, nurturing economic development from within. No problem with that. But I think, Mr. Chairman, to your point, I could support tourism because we need visitors. We need people to come here and partake of the businesses that are being nurtured by the Chamber of Commerce. And so I think we're gonna need a concerted effort on that. So Eric, I commend you for not giving the Chamber all the money. I believe in equal distribution, so I think this is something that's warranted for us to sort of redistribute this, and have somebody dedicated to it. So what I'm hearing is that we're saying one full-time person, or one
Yes.
full-time plus a,
Well, you have so many volunteers.
That's right.
Thankfully, we have them. Hopefully that they can continue to volunteer. But, yes, there's probably 24 or maybe more, people that you would think actually were getting paid because they're up there all the time.
And there's some one-time costs on that sheet too. There'll be other one-time costs. There's some startup costs in the future that may have additional money to hire a second part-time person later.
And one thing on the Hydrangea Festival is it's getting more popular every year. But I think we might have exceeded what we can do without some type of dedication to advertising this outside of Atlanta, basically. I mean, we've got some good articles in some Southern Living magazine, Better Housekeeping, and that's helped some. But if you could just have some advertising money that would hit our surrounding states, you'd see a big increase. And I think they've done a fantastic job. Nobody's ever been paid to do this. And Wes Talon, over the last couple of years, I give him credit. He's got involved in this, and if you give Wes a job to do, he can do it.
but I think when you think about economic development and you finally committed to giving them additional resources and now going to a whole nother level, I think at the same point, if we're taxing, we increase the taxes of hotel motel, right, from 5 to 8. Isn't it our responsibility to now help bring more tourism into these hotels to a certain extent and bring people here to visit, to at least stay more than just coming and going? I mean, isn't that, so I think to your point, having a more dedicated, like you just said, professional resource, I think that it's warranted, so I could support it. Just keep it simple.
One thing that kind of hits me between the eyes is the first line item, dues and memberships, Georgia Association of Museums and Galleries, and that money amount. I probably already know the answer to this, but is that
Where are your money?
a very top line?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
We already do this.
That's stiff.
Yeah, think about it, we probably, I don't know how much money we put into a total dollars there, but some of the items on here, we already do, don't we? Like those fees at the top, I think we already do that.
Yeah, some of the stuff we already do, and,
There's dues and memberships, Georgia Association of Museums and Galleries, $12,000. And I just want to know if that's cost effective Or is that just a prestige thing,
Well,
like a AAA in
right.
them or something?
And we'd have to go back into this budget too, if y'all approve the concept, because they put it together, but we gotta make sure the dollars.
Yeah, we haven't had it very long,
And then,
so we'll take a look at that, Mike, I don't know the answer.
and the thing they do have too, I wanna point out, they do have a part-time person for weekend coverage. You'll notice on here, a weekend person as well. So, we'd have to pick somebody to be the director of it, but I think it's a good move. I think it's a move y'all talked about for a while, wanting to do something over there, and I think it's a good move. And that's basically what, you know, the city of Douglasville, you know, they have their, we're on even keel with them now, with 8% across the board, hotel, motel money, so.
They just have a whole lot more of it.
They do, they got more. Okay,
Well, this is a perfect area for consolidation. There ought to be city and county doing this.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't look like it's going to with the present regime.
all right, then we have, Special Service District Fund, Fire Services Fund, Fire Protection Services, the EMS fund, total revenue. Okay, so what you've got, this is the new fund, you got revenue totals of $11,580,000.
And that intergovernmental is the amount from Billerica.
Okay. Okay, all right, so you got intergovernmental, Bill Rica's money, charges for service, 1.9, for EMS, and then other, that's the county. Okay, now this budget here, we had adopted 12.5 million. 2015, this is just unincorporated only, is that right?
With Billerica.
With Villarica, okay, this is no Douglasville in these numbers.
That's not cut.
We don't have an agreement. And
So
then,
Billerica is included in
yes.
this.
Yes, because we have an agreement with
Because
them.
we do have an agreement with them. Douglasville is not included
That's right.
because we don't have an agreement.
That's right,
Okay,
that's right.
And Ken's told us legally we can't.
right.
You know?
All right, so we're going down, and what we're looking at here, and these, we talked about a little bit of this yesterday, which is the radio system improvements, the turnout gear, you know, those we need to do. The ambulance part, you know, I'm not putting that in there this year, that's more of a SPOS item as well. I did put in here a fire engine for next year, in addition to what we're buying now, but this would be a lease purchase, an annual payment of $100,000 a year.
How many years?
5.
5.
And so we can tamper that out. There's some other programs they put in there that I did not put in, also including a new fire safety inspector, division chiefs. You know, we're just not, now's not the time to do that. So, but we do need to buy the new fire apparatus. Then these other ones, you always keep these in your book. This is for reference. I asked Scott to put together a, immediate need, 2 to 5 year short term, and then a 5 to 10 year long term needs. Of course, those are just for reference because we're trying to put together a capital budget into that department for long term. You can see the total, goes up to 30, over $35 million when you add it all up. Wow. Okay, animal control, same situation here. We have an agreement with Villarica and Austell, but not with Douglasville. So this reflects the revenue we received, also reflects the operational cost for just providing animal control to the unincorporated areas, Villarica and Austell. The animal control, I did put a new truck in here, one new truck for that operation. They asked for 2, I put 1 in. We also had I put some money in there too as far as financing the animal shelter. I put $300,000 in there. 10-year financing is what we would look at. And then,
Where's that thing?
on page 49. Okay, and then we go on to, the debt service fund in the, what's that?
Go back, I'm sorry, Eric.
Which one, okay?
Go back to the 10-year financing of the
Yeah.
animal shelter.
Yeah, 10-year financing and animal shelter.
I think when do we think the geotech will come back for us?
In a couple of weeks.
Finally
Couple of weeks.
resolve where the animal shelter should or should not go.
In a couple of weeks. Then you'll know where to put it. This is this is assuming you're putting it on land that you own.
Right.
It's putting it on land that you own, this is the cost for the building.
Maybe it'll, Mike, weigh in on this. Putting something on it as well as tapping into utilities, does it answer both questions or just
Yes.
can I
Yes.
set
Yeah.
it here?
Yeah, it will allow you to understand, comprehend the ability to run sewer lines, what the cost would be through rock or not through rock,
Okay.
and what the cost differential estimate would
That's right.
Also, they give us prices too, it's just not that it.
be. Indirect, yeah.
Okay, and then we have a debt service fund for the new jail at Law Enforcement Center bonds. You know, that program's moving very well along. We've had more revenue than has come in on that, and we needed to cover the debt service. So what we're looking at, is averaging $1.8 million a month that's coming in, so that builds up our reserve balance on that. So the jail bond debt service cash balance as of Friday, or last week, oh no, it was Monday, I guess. Actual cash balance is $13 million, projected $9 million, so we got $3.8 million in overage. And we're getting closer, almost, this thing's almost paid for, so we got extra money there. So what we're proposing is, yeah, this is the recap of it, which is, you know, if we took $2.5 million out of that fund in 2013 to help pay for the land. Go back to the land. So now we're getting closer down the line. You know, we had $6 million in there, we took 2.5, left us at 3.6, but now we're in the home stretch.
When do
So-
you expect it to be paid off?
In 2016.
August of
August.
2016.
Thank you. August 2016.
Well, finish your thought about it.
Okay, well, and what I'm saying, what we're proposing now is to draw down additional funds out of that, which would be another 2.5 million out of that, which would leave, you know, then the SPOS leaves 1.6 in there for the next 19 months, you know, and money's coming in, it's coming in well, so that will pay for itself. So I'm proposing that what I've used on this year's budget to pay for those capital needs was this additional, this 2.5 to recapture the money for the land. Now remember, when this thing's finished, and at the end of 2016, when it's paid off, any SPOS excess comes back to us anyway. But when we put the spreadsheet together, you have that in there about the land, is that in here? How we came up with the numbers?
Yes, it was on that previous.
Oh, it was on this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have, remember, the total cost of the property is 9.3 million, 38 acres, price per acre. So the jail was 25 acres, so 6.1. 6.1 is what we had to get. And that was the number that we paid for all of the general fund, and that's what could come out of the SPLOST. So we pulled 2.5 out already, we pulled another 2.5, that puts you 5 million, you know, which leaves that, was that 1.651, is that right? Anyway, it leaves you additional, you know, $1.1 million. Still, you could recapture at a later date. But what I'm saying is I wouldn't recommend that again, because you'll retire the SPLOST, and any excess money goes back to the general fund, you know, to pay
Unencumbered?
unencumbered.
We can use it however we want.
Yes, and to pay off, and it goes towards, it goes
First, you
towards,
have to pay off any debt in the general fund.
Right.
If you don't have any debt,
which we don't. But now we could have, see, by that time, you could have some debt, if you have debt for the lease purchases, I guess for the equipment, or if you have the animal shelter, things like that. So there'll still be more money that's gonna come in
This is public
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that money, until it closes out, so this is what we've, the 2.5, so I did this one here.
yeah. And just to let you know how we stay conservative on our assumptions, that's what the last two bullet points are. We said, okay, if we continue to receive SPLOST based on what we averaged in 2013, which was $1.8 million, then we would have $3.1 million remaining after we took this $2.5 million out, if it's approved for next
So the
year.
funds, the funds in good shape.
Then we did it another way, we said, okay, if we transfer the 2.5 million out next year, then SPLOST would need to be $1,651,000 for the next 19 months to break even. And, you know, we're averaging.
And we've not hit under
No.
that 165 at any point in time.
Mm-mm.
What are we averaging now?
1.8.
1.8.
Yeah.
Almost 1.8.
Okay, so you're comfortable with that number?
Yeah, if you look at a full year in 2011, we averaged 1,813,691. In
That's
2012,
on this slide right here.
it was 1,854,40. 2013, 1,818,925. And so far this year, 1,864,551.
So it's a good trend, Chairman and Board.
And that should be trending up, not down.
Right,
Because we still receive 100% of that.
right. So it's, you know, this is a better way to do it because it's, you don't want to have, you know, at the end of the day, you might as well use the money as you go, you know, or draw it down as you go.
Well, it's going where it's supposed
It's
to
going
go.
where it's supposed to go. That's right.
And we also have to remember that this will be a one-time revenue source.
That's right.
2.5 million. It won't be there next,
That's
the
right.
following year for us to spend.
That's right. That's right. But then at the end of, at the end of 2016.
Well, there will be some
At the end of
additional.
but not next year though. Next year it won't be, but in 2016 it will be. And of course, next year, you could say, hey, look, you could draw a little bit more down next year. You could look at it.
I don't want to get in closer than
I
where
don't-
we're
See,
going
this
here.
is for 2015, so by the time we're working on the 2016 budget, the debt service is gonna
It'll
be
about
paid
all be
off
paid
in
off.
August.
So you'll
So
know.
we could then kind of make our assumption of what we think is gonna be remaining in this fund after the debt service
But
is
it
paid
can't,
off.
but it can't exceed the 6.1
No.
million until it retires. Once it
Right.
retires,
Yes.
then that doesn't matter anymore.
And you know, you look back, that's a $120 million facility. And 60 million of that was paid from people that don't live in our county, that are just coming through our
Right.
county.
Right, it's a great project.
Yeah, but that 5 years is probably the right number for any government, you know, that 6 years, I mean, get in, get out,
That's
we're
right.
done.
Right.
Okay, capital project funds, and y'all are good with that, that's what we put in the, the operating budget, okay. Capital project funds, 2002 SPOS, capital transportation fund, and Greta arterial projects. All right, here's what's left in the 2002 SPOS fund. So I mentioned to y'all yesterday about the roads, and we got some intersection improvements that are still to be done, so we're gonna line that up. We're actually using some of this money too, as it was out working on Connors Road out there, that was a SPOS project, Connors Road.
With intergovernmental agreement with the
Yes.
city of Bill.
Finally got that.
We need to
So-
emphasize that.
So we're gonna do that work. Douglas County Fire has got a little bit left, but I gave y'all a plan yesterday how we're winding that down. Parks, is that still a little bit
It's
in there?
just paving.
Okay, so that's winding down too. Remember, we're paving, that's going, Deer Lick Park, that's gonna use that money up.
Yep.
And then Douglasville Parks, of course, that's the cities. They're winding theirs up as well.
Eric, on that, the road intersection, is the Maxon Road part of this? I've always tried to figure out where it was coming out. Remember it was Randy Megan, at least it was published that we were gonna sort of fix the Maxon Road, road intersection at some point. What is that tied to?
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's in the capital transportation fund, I'm not sure the scope of the project, but
It was
that
some
is.
signalization and stuff. is what it was.
That's
Sig-
what ARC
Signalization.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's part of that.
Right, because that was one of the big projects, Chairman, like you
Right.
just said, on the ARC project.
On the next page.
Okay?
I see it. Yeah.
Okay, there we go, thank you. Okay, so you got the Maximum Road congestion reduction and traffic flow improvement, one right there.
And if you look at that last line, that's discretionary, that's their fund balance, meaning that, you know, over the past several years, y'all put in $500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million. So their fund balance right now that's unassigned is 1.8 million.
So the capital transportation fund's in good shape, for next year.
Do we-
It's got,
Do we continue to, again, and I don't disagree, that taxpayers being able to experience their tax dollars, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned it, we just haven't, because it's not our fault, it's just a condition of the economy. Now we're at a place where we now need to go back and address some of our roadways. Do we continue to make a concerted effort to put more money into this transportation fund, or was it just sort of a one-time, get it kicked off, and it lasts however it lasts?
well,
You know, as far as I'm concerned, it was kicking off a program we need to continue on a yearly
Right.
basis. And,
you want a level to maintain, there needs to be a number you want to say, hey, I want to maintain this amount in that fund.
that's right, yeah, right, because we are far behind. It's expensive to resurface roads.
And, you know, I mean, I was in early discussion with you yesterday, I was disappointed when we were talking about curtailing the level of paving, and what, you know, this present year, we did about 31
We
miles.
did.
And now, talking about going forward, would drop down a third
20, right.
to 20. And I would like us to see it to stay at 30, if there's a way we can look at that and do that. I think that's a good number for.
That's the decision we've got to make, because what we were doing is spending LMIG's 2 years worth of funds to do
That's
that
right.
31
We
miles.
did.
Yeah.
So if we want to do that 30, we're going to have to increase our
It would
spending.
it would come out of our.
Yeah, come out of our budget.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we gotta look at that.
So that's a
seriously.
decision that we need to make.
That on the
I support it.
Yeah.
To continue to try to do 30 miles. We've never done 31 miles.
Let's put an asterisk by that.
Yeah, I'd put an asterisk by it, and one thing too to consider is your SPOS program. If you go that, move that forward, then that would be a big catch-up. Remember how we talked about hitting it hard up front,
Well,
and so, but let's put an asterisk by it.
But the thing about the capital transportation fund is that's really for your bread and butter.
It is.
You know, paving, subdivision streets and minor arterials and that sort of thing, whereas your SPOS is really focused on major projects.
Most of the time it is.
You know, usually in major intersection, that sort of thing. So I want to see us continue to focus on the bread and butter, you know, the close to the doorstep kind of things.
We got subdivisions that haven't been resurfaced in 40 years.
And maybe to your point, I mean, the SPOS is something, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but we do have a
Right,
baseline
that's right.
of provision of service we have to do, which is roads, which is a fundamental responsibility of the county. So I think I would support, you know,
The asterisk.
coming up with the money is to go into the asterisk.
We used to be called the Douglas County Board of,
Roads and Revenue.
Roads and Revenue.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
So there's evidently more emphasis on
Right.
roads back there than there is now.
And dirt roads.
That's
Right, that's right, yeah.
That's right.
All right, the Greta arterial project, you know, we have the Durham Lane extension, that's completed. Lee Road, South Sweetwater, and then Lee Road Phase 2, those projects. That was all part of the money that came out of 2001 Greta contract. So,
Will we finish Lee Road? I mean, the bridge will be done sometime this time next year, give or take. I don't know how it shifts. But it's phase 2, which is extending it from the bridge down to Fairground Road on the docket.
yes, they're buying right away now to do that. And that's a state project, you know, it's not a county project. And all that's being done by the state through Greta.
Were we not using some of our money to purchase the right of way to be reimbursed?
Yes, we have to do the administration portion that is reimbursed.
That's
So that's right. Yep. Administrative costs are paid from 2002.
And we had about 160 or 180 parcels that we
Yes.
had to
Yes.
deal with.
Right. It's, you know, some are easier than others, some are complete takes, some are, you know, partial takes.
And we've already got one reimbursement this year, because we have a $1 million cap.
Yeah.
So once we spend $1 million, then Randy does all the
That's
paperwork,
right.
sends it to the state. It takes them a while, because they've got to go through all of those, you know, files of all the parcels that,
Right.
you know, paid for. We're almost at the million. I think the last time I checked, we were between 800 and 900,000. Yeah, okay. And, so hopefully, you know, I would say maybe in the next couple of months, we'll be at that million to get our
Okay.
reimbursement.
Okay. All right. We got the enterprise fund, and which includes your C&D, transfer, station, recycle operation, and collections in Camp Road. And this just shows, you know, their operational budget on this sheet. The next sheet I want to point you to is what needs to occur next year, which is a rebuilding of the inbound and outbound scale. That's how we charge for, you know, the waste coming in, you know, based on the weight, especially the larger trucks.
Yeah.
So the scale needs to be rebuilt, both in and out. So I put the money in there for that, and they should have money in their fund now to cover that.
But that's the enterprise fund.
It's enterprise fund, yes, that's right. And then we got the big reimbursement we talked about, we all approved this week. Internal Services Fund,
Pretty much talked about that yesterday.
We did.
And so only 66, I think this is good news. In 2014, the general fund, you know, y'all approved to contribute $1.5 million to the healthcare fund to
Yes.
offset some of the increase
How
in
big is that whole
expenditures
map?
and to reduce the healthcare fund deficit. So we ended 2013 with a deficit of almost 2.3 million, and it's estimated that we're going to only have a deficit of 1.3 million. So, and we may actually even be more, or have less of a deficit, but we also are recommending, the Benefits Committee is recommending some more changes, which we talked about yesterday, that will help reduce our expenses and therefore reduce the deficit. And we pretty much talked about that on the next slide about what we.
right, we talked about that yesterday. And then, what was it here?
So we're saying we don't
That's
have to,
just the fund.
we're saying we're gonna put money against the 1.8 just to come to zero, or we're just gonna continue to track that we're on track and we can maintain it? What do you think?
You know, my opinion is now that we've got the benefit consultants here,
Right.
Right.
let's not put any
That's
more
right.
money right now. Let them look at how we can change our plan to have the savings. And then let them make recommendations on what the employees should contribute, which will be in the 2016 budget. But for right now, I don't think that I think, you know, yes, it's a deficit, but at least we're showing, and that's what all the auditors care about. Are we doing something about it, or are we just turning
Yeah.
our head and not looking
Right.
at it? So, I
Right.
mean,
Not
we knocked $1
kicking the
million off.
As long as we don't let it grow a long tail.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, and I think the consultant will give us a plan, guide map, you know, and we'll
Yes.
go with
That's
that.
what we're looking, that's what we're looking.
That's right.
That's what I'm hiring for.
Okay,
And-
workers'
Let's do
comp
number.
fund.
And also good news on the workers' comp fund, slide 70. Again, y'all approved $500,000 for the increase in expenditures, because workers' comp is mainly healthcare expenditure. And to reduce the workers' comp deficit, we ended 2013 with a deficit of about $700,000. And because our claims have come in less than what we projected, we are estimating that that deficit's gone, going to be eliminated in 2014. We actually may have a couple $100,000 in surplus.
So the amendments that we did back to that budget, which we actually made them on the day we adopted
Yes.
the budget, not otherwise,
Yeah.
Yes,
was very beneficial.
yes.
Smart.
Strong decision.
Smart move, guys.
Yep.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, I don't want to belabor this, but I think this is one area where Matt Laverne shines on this part, and he's very proactive in claims management, so I think that helps.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's the end of that, of the budget show. You know, we do have the executive session item to review.
Can we go once before we do that?
Sure.
I just have one question. That $500,000 that we put set aside, as we called it, the untouchable, or that money that we have, where's that line item still exists?
It's in the unassigned fund balance.
Okay.
So we had
We
an
had that
increase.
the line item that I brought up, that we put aside, or what happened, if I'm not mistaken, you know,
That's
trying to
right.
work toward getting off the tan and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Yeah. So that line item still exists,
Yes.
still, okay.
Another very conservative right move to make. Yes, how long for lunch do we need?
I mean, I think we're lunching it right here, maybe, if it's a buffet style, with 45 minutes, something like that.
45 minutes.
12:45,
Get
let's come
back
back
and
in.
take care of the rest of this.
We need to make one more motion, or we'll take.
Thank you.
Session, in the form of motion.
It's about 12 o'clock. Let's recess for 45 minutes. We'll be
12:45.
back at 1:45.
Okay.
We can leave our computers, I
Yes.
assume.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.